Top of the morning folks, today from the Reddit Rainforest. What's your biggest regret in a past relationship and how are you handling it right now? I treated my ex-wife terribly, like a spoiled child with its mother. I have a huge sense of shame for that. I use that now to temper my dealings with other women. I'm also very honest about it. When she left I apologized to her, and again 5 years later. I will never let myself off the hook for that. She's been gone 20 years in August. My biggest regret is never saying goodbye properly. That's the thing about relationships. Feel like death. One minute they exist, and the very second after a breakup, they do not. But it took me forever to understand when the death had actually happened, and it only caused more pain than it needed to. I just wish I'd been able to look at her and say, yeah, I think it's best if we move on. I hold nothing against you, and I wish you all the best. I did not get that moment. Now I'm left wondering if she even remembers anything about me. She probably just remembers me as that weird guy she had her first relationship with. But now I'll never truly know, and I'll forever regret never telling her one last time how much she meant or how much she improved my life. It's like never getting to tell your dad one last time that you love him before he dies. It gets repeated over and over in your head. My biggest regret was changing for my ex. I got emotionally abused to the point of becoming a pet rather than a girlfriend. Ended up being pointless since they got bored and cheated on me / replaced me with a mutual friend anyway. It ducked me up 4 years afterwards. Thankfully my life is better now, even if I never got all of my confidence / self-esteem back. Biggest regret was who I did not lose my virginity to. I had a guy in high school I really loved, and we kept waiting and waiting thinking we would be together forever. We were each other's firsts for everything except sex. So fast forward a year or two later I was dating some loser guy who talked me into it. Wish it had been the first guy instead of the one who it was. I do not regret anything. I'm not proud of some things I did or said, but I treat it like a lesson and apply what I have learned to be a better person / significant other going forward. Not loving myself before loving my ex. I was shattered when it ended. He cheated. I felt like I had no identity. I learned from it however, and I'm glad I can see that as a silver lining now. Regrets. I guess they are two and kind of fold together. 1. Working too hard to sustain relationships that should have been put out to pasture. I had this strange belief that relationships are pass / fail and ending is a failure, not knowing when to just see the writing on the wall. In fairness to myself it's not easy to pull the plug. 2. Thinking if I work harder / do more I can make the other person happy and everything will be good and the relationship will endure. See above. It creates an unhealthy dynamic, and I think it creates a death spiral. You have to be a little bit selfish in a relationship. I honestly do not have many regrets when it comes to past relationships. I was a pretty mature teenager, and I still think I was acting very reasonably overall. One thing I do regret is that I was being too pushy with one girlfriend. The background of this story is that I had been trying to get laid for years, and despite my desperate efforts, it had never worked out. All of my friends had already lost their virginity, and I was getting super frustrated. There was no peer pressure. I did not get teased or mocked by anyone. I just really wanted to experience what everyone else had already experienced. So at age 19 I met this girl and we began to date. From day one of our relationship she was cool with making out, and after 2-3 weeks she gave me my first hand job. At the time, as a sexually inexperienced but painfully horny teenager, I misinterpreted these signs as her being easy. As a result, I began to act quite pushy and tried to get into her pants as fast as possible. I remember this one time when we were on a deserted playground, sitting on a bench and chatting. After a while I began to make out with her, and she was fine with that because there were no other people around. Then I tried to get my hand inside her shirt / bra, and she said no. I ignored her rejection and continued to fondle her. She said no again and tried to pull my hand out of her shirt. I ignored her again. This went on for a few minutes until she finally became very uncomfortable, got up and walked home. I wanted to follow her but did not. At the time I was quite butthurt about her reaction, although in retrospect I know of course that it was totally wrong. My girlfriend did not break up with me, but a bit later I found out she was cheating on me with another guy. I guess I deserved that. Once I found out, she dumped me. Looking back, I feel very bad about my behavior back then. It is one of very few actions from my past that I genuinely regret. I sometimes wish I could meet her again and apologize. Unfortunately this is not possible anymore because she lives in another country and I do not even remember her surname. Biggest regret is dating my ex in the first place. broke my heart, and tormented me for so long. I regret that I let my ex tell me that he was happy with the relationship and happy with our communication when there were so many signs that he was not. And then he ended things by ghosting me because he's still cold, not ducking communicate. I regret letting him come back when he got lonely or horny. I regret that I believed him for so long, despite all the warning signs, because I really wanted to believe he was a good person. I regret that he was not who I needed him to be, and I regret that I was not who he needed me to be either. But I also regret that I did not realize these things much sooner and save myself the trouble. We should have never gotten into that relationship in the first place. I hope he's doing well now, with a girlfriend, or wife, or whatever, who can be what he needs her to be. I miss his friendship and I want to know how he's doing. But I know that everything between us became toxic at the end, and I do not want to risk bringing that back by contacting him. Also, I'm happy in my life now, so I do not want him to think I'm inviting him back as a lover, because I don't want that. I do really miss being friends, though. I regret losing him as a friend. In all my past relationships, I have had issues with infidelity. In hindsight, my biggest regret is not being forthcoming earlier and ending the relationship for the right reasons instead of the easy reasons. In my current relationship of 12 years, if I felt the desire to be with someone else in more than a passing fashion, I would likely talk to her about it. Not cutting off things sooner. More of friendship relationships than a romantic relationship, but I had to cut majority of my friends off last year, like a total of 10 people maybe. They decided to side with someone in the fringe group who assaulted me, always told me I'm lying and making it up, saying I should be his friend again. I regret not cutting it off the first time they said that. I'll let it go on for a year and now I'm struggling to recover from it. I'm trying my best to make new friends and have new healthy relationships, but it's hard. I'm now scared to voice my opinion or stand up for myself. I rather just stay quiet. My biggest regret is being in that relationship in the first place. I gave him everything in just the year we were together. I bought him clothes, paid for a trip to Disney for his birthday, tended to his every want and need ... while he physically, mentally, and psychologically abused me to the point that I became a soulless, hollow, empty shell of a human being. The reason I stayed so long is because he made me feel like no matter what I did I was never good enough for him, and I wanted to prove him wrong. I should have stood up for myself from day one. And that's my biggest regret, not only of that relationship, but also of my life. How am I handling it? I'm taking him to court. He made me throw out a large portion of my belongings, over $12,000 of items that I paid for on my own with money from my malarkey part-time retail job. This is my current relationship and I know all of this is happening, but I cannot get the strength to leave. Leave for your own good. Even if it's hard. Use people in your support system if need be. I'll let him abuse me for way too long, because the gaslighting and manipulation convinced me that I was not being abused. All of this is normal, as I was being psychologically tortured on the daily, and when he was using physical torture I could not wear jeans or any pants without bleeding through. He never really allowed me to go out. I'm handling it by being surprised my current boyfriend is so okay with it. Trust feels nice. Not listening to the policewoman who told me the abuse would only get worse when I was getting my first restraining order. Lol. Looking back on it, sounds so insane. Losing myself. I can blame her all I want, but I changed so much I wanna time travel just to slap some sense into myself. Still, it's a reminder to me always to never lose my way again. My biggest mistake was not to trust in her. I was this stupid jealous guy every day. We fought every day for stupid things I brought up. She could surely be the love of my life. But I always was so afraid of losing her that I finally made her go away because of my behavior. I spent years blaming myself back because of that. Still do. Now I'm in a new relationship. I love her and I'm sure she loves me. Every time I start a fight because of my jealousy I stop and remember what happened in my previous relationship. I do not want to make the same mistake again. I regret never being close with my father. He was a loner to the extreme. He abandoned his family because they never went to college. He never had friends. And I do not mean nobody liked him. Everyone at work loved him, but my father never ever took up a single friendship. My dad was a serial fiancé. He'd date a girl, propose, marry her for a few years, then leave, rinse, repeat. Throughout his whole life the only thing close to a friend he had was whoever he was fixing to marry. I always felt like my dad did not really like me. I was always slow in math, and for a man like my father, that was a great offense. He thought I was autistic and had me tested behind my mother's back. He divorced my mom when I was really young and started dating a woman that, depending on the day, either hated me and wanted me gone or wanted to spend all day at the mall with me. Whatever she said, my dad would do. I spent a day locked in my room because she told my father she was sick of looking at me. Still, I wish I'd tried harder to be a better daughter. I know with everything I just said I probably sound crazy for that regret. Christmas 2017. My father had a stroke and became disabled. Because of that, he lost most of his court-ordered kid time. For the last 3 years of his life I barely spoke to him, and when I did speak to him, I was just waiting for the second I could leave. On my birthday he had a heart attack and died. The last conversation I'd had with him, he said, "Well, celebrate next time I see you. I regret never being around." It's not a regret. More of why did not I do it sooner? We were talking and practically dating for a year, but long distance made it hard. I got a call early morning, said that she was falling for another dude. I asked her if that's what she wanted to do, and she said yes firmly. I blocked her on everything besides text how she could reach me. And well, not you know it. She came crawling back 2 weeks later after no other guy treated her the same way I did. She begged me to take her back, and I said no. Although I really wanted to, I did not want to lower my self-respect that hard and chase after a girl that left me. So I blocked her on text too. There's no place she can reach me now. Staying after she cheated. Putting her on a pedestal and treating her like she had more value than myself, which winded up being a harsh breakup for me. Lesson learned though, and I feel like a whole new man. Hell, I'm so happy to be rid of her. Value yourself above all else, fellas. That's the key to happiness. Stay on your purpose and know your worth, kings. Don't stuck with married women. If they're willing to cheat on their husband, they'll cheat on you. Jezebels. Not learning how to eat a girl out properly. SMH. The time I got drunk and rang her at 2 in the morning telling her I still loved her. She ruined me, destroyed any self-confidence I had in myself, and made me depressed and a bitter, horrible person for too long. Almost 20 years later it still makes me angry at myself. Do not get me wrong, I have been with my partner for 12 years, we have 2 kids and I'm happy, but every now and then I think of her and it all comes back. Letting my ex stampede over my boundaries and not doing anything about it. Not having a definitive stance on what my boundaries were, and not being assertive and expressing them clearly. This was all a recipe for my complete loss of identity for quite some time, and is hallmark in abusive relationships. Him going to therapy and him clearly defining my boundaries before I let anyone back into my life. My biggest regret is my slow descent into sex addiction. I often look back on the way I treated her in regards to sex. I wanted it non-stop. Every moment we were together. It was uncontainable. I was really manipulative and abusive in that sense. It's a part of me that carried on until I was props my 19, when I had a pretty rough wake-up call after some stuff went down between some friends from HS and I. It was a mess and very eye-opening. Sometimes I wish I could go back and do it all over again to treat her better, but I do not think we were ever meant to last. My biggest regret with my ex is not getting more physical. I had my first kiss with her, and second, and third, and 20th, etc. But I was really hesitant to get more sexual when we were together. We did not start exploring the more sexual sides of each other until after the relationship had gone long distance. And while she did suck my dick once when she came to visit, it was heavenly BTW. After she went back home from that visit, I did not know that I'd never see her in person again, as we broke up a couple months later without getting another visit in. Unfortunately, that is all there is for this video, but do not worry, there are many more coming. Like and subscribe for more videos from the Reddit Rainforest. Thanks for watching.